Ben, just obviously we know that the Holyrood election has been and gone, so the SNP don't have to worry about that in the immediate term. I mean, they do have a couple of by-elections coming up as soon as next month. But just more broadly speaking, how damaging do you think the events of this week, as opposed to the long-run and branch-run investigation, but specifically events of recent days, how damaging do you think this could be to the party?
I mean, I'm not really the person to ask about the SNP. My view on them isn't exactly non-partisan, but in my opinion, the reputation couldn't have been any lower. So it's kind of it's taken a reputation that was already in the mud, and it's basically dug a pit and thrown it in and chucked a load of more mud on top of it. And very good point. The by-elections, I suspect this is going to come up on the doors in Aberdeen South. The Tories will be rubbing their hands in glee because I think they can win that by-election. I think probably Angus and Broughty Ferry still too kind of blinkered the electorate there to get beyond this. It's disastrous, but they're voted in. They've got another 5 years.
Let me put it another way. Do you think
what will happen in this next 5 years, and what they maybe don't have control over, is the other scandal that I mentioned, the Sturgeon v. Salmond. Obviously, we know that Alex Salmond's civil action against the government is being taken forward by Paul McManus, the millionaire former drummer from Gun. That's not going away either. This could be the next one that follows Murrell. And this isn't the end of it. We've got sentencing next month when there will be statements. There will be. We'll learn more about Murrell's state of mind.
Yeah, and we'll know more about the prosecution next Tuesday, and there's a hearing on June 2nd, and then, as you say, we'll have sentencing on June 23rd, when we'll get mitigation from the defence. And I think that is something that the public, not just in Scotland, but across the UK, where there has been real interest in this story on the purchases, the items bought. Quite a lot of people are like, but why? So maybe we'll find out something more then.
I personally, I think it's done for Swinney. I think, everyone expected that he wasn't going to see out this 5-year term. I think if what it's done, it's made that, I would say, all but inevitable that we'll probably get to 2027, and John Swinney will be so damaged by this that he's going to have to step aside for someone who wasn't connected to the party during the Sturgeon and Murrell eras, who wasn't, the Deputy First Minister, who wasn't the man who appointed Murrell as Chief Executive back in 2001, who isn't a personal friend of both the individuals at the heart of this. I think it's Swinney's epitaph. He's literally 3 weeks into his term as First Minister, and he's a dead man walking. He's finished. He can't get an independence referendum. He had his big flagship vote yesterday, and literally no one paid it the slightest bit of attention. He made it perfectly clear that only an SNP majority would give him a mandate. He hasn't got one. Suddenly he's changed his tune. No one's taking him seriously. Not a single person in Scotland is taking this seriously. He's done for. It's now a question of when, not if, does John Swinney resign.
Dan, is that broadly your feeling? Has this been probably in a way that you wouldn't have wanted, but in a weird way, has this been a good week for Stephen Flynn?
Well, it probably might have been a good week for Stephen Flynn, but I do think, Ben, you might be slightly jumping the gun there.
Wishful thinking.
Who knows what's going to happen? And I think it will depend a lot on how John Swinney now handles this going forward. If he comes to a recognition that transparency is going to be needed to sort this out and I think I used the phrase earlier, sunlight is the best disinfectant. If he takes that approach, I do think, because obviously he has spent the last however long it is since he came in, to some extent rebuilding the SNP's reputation to the extent that he was then able to win an election when that didn't look that likely a long time ago. Obviously, he is associated with the past. He is associated with Sturgeon. He is associated with Murrell. His survival will depend on the extent to which he can continue the impression, which I do think it's fair to say he has built, that he is different and separate for them, and that he's trying to move things on down or change things. Ben, you probably think I'm being overly optimistic for Swinney there. I do think, it is only 3 weeks after the election, and you said, and there's a lot more to happen first before we can say with any, with any certainty that he is.
It won't be soon, but it's set. I think it's set the seal on it.
He did tell us Sunday Mail he plans to serve not only this 5-year term, but
the next one as well.
Maybe that's a bit more of a stretch now.